Hello, yet another broadcast from me. I feel the urgency of the moment. My name is Davina. Everyday Democracy is here on this channel, talking about what democracy is, what threatens democracy, who threatens democracy, why, and how we can best combat that. So, right now, I am so happy to report that even on Cybertruck Laughingstock, um, super wealthy but very corruptible SEC crime committing person, Elon Musk, who bought Twitter and is trying to use it to increase Donald Trump's electoral chances in hopes of getting himself a pardon, maybe a position in a Trump administration, maybe just somebody who instructs the DOJ not to go after him. Even on Elon Musk's Twitter, or X as he likes to call it, the number one trend is we back Biden Harris. Hooray! Because if you get knocked back down, the important thing is to get back up again. And the media is trying to do a little 1-2, get down and stay down punch on the Biden campaign. We are not having it. We are not buying into your self-fulfilling doom prophecies. We knew Biden was old when he won the primaries in 2016. Not 2006, 2019. We knew Biden was old when he won the election in 2020. He's old. He's still old. Speech is more difficult. Your saliva is more tacky. That man's intellect has been put to use for the American people and continues to do so. He has been instrumental in rallying European allies together with the United States to try and have Ukraine's back as it is murderously invaded by its imperialist despot neighbor Putin and his armies that have brought terror and bombing and a lot of pain to the Ukrainian people. Side note, my family background is from Ukraine, from a bit of contentious Ukraine that was Poland, that was Ukraine, was Poland, now is Ukraine. Anyway, Lvov, my grandfather hailed from Lvov. It's a town that is now been attacked multiple times by Russia. So no thanks to Trump's despotic pal, Putin, a man who admires despots, authoritarians, oligarchs, corrupt grifters who steal from their own people in order to enrich themselves, and then publicly manages democracies to give the pretense of a democracy. That is not a good example for the United States. It's not something we should admire to. I don't care what transactional trade-off you think you want or need in terms of a restored Merry Christmas said by everybody, even people who are Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, etc. You don't need white Christian cultural homogeneity. You don't need to say, who moved my cultural homogeneity cheese? Cope with change. Cope with demographic diversity. It's ideas that unite us, not our skin color, ideally. And if your loyalty is to a Christian tribe or a white Christian nationalist tribe that you feel celebrates you and makes you special for that reason, it's a destructive idea. It didn't work out for the Germans, who, when Nazis tried to elevate white, Aryan, blonde, blue-eyedness as being the key factor in their nation's success. Ethno-nationalistic skin color worship is a bad idea. All right, let's look at more things. So, hooray, we back Biden Harris, number one leading trend. Let's go to some important information that I did really want to share with you all, because you will encounter on July the 4th, if you're meeting up with friends and relatives, you will encounter people saying, oh, well, let's speculate about who should replace our pumpkin in 5. I'm going to do a very quick broadcast. Who should replace our president? So, our incumbent president. Who should we surrender that advantage for, of having an incumbent president, when conservative people, like people who aren't conservative in that sense of the Republican voting word, but conservative as in they prefer to minimize change, they prefer to stick with the tried and tested, they prefer people who make them feel comfortable and reassured. And voters are disproportionately occupied by people from the demographics of older people. Younger people don't always bestir themselves to vote. Even middle-aged people don't always take the time out. Older people are more reliable voters. Okay, so look at this. And those older people who survived COVID are more likely to be people who took precautions. I guess it's not a surprise that they're favoring Biden at this point in time. Now, listen to this excellent point from a Twitter user called Betty Rubble is not giving fascism $8. Smart lady, Betty Rubble. Cool play on the Flintstones. She notes, and she also, the other part of her name is Hillary. Hillary's my home girl. So cool. If we remove Biden, the Heritage Foundation will challenge the new nominee's ballot access in court, and that's the ball game. You think they haven't thought this through, gotten their lackeys in the media to push for it? Nevada, Wisconsin, and Georgia are where they think state laws could keep Biden from being removed from the ballot. So if Biden was no longer the nominee, but he's on the ballot still in Nevada, Wisconsin, and Georgia instead of any new nominee, you can't get to 270 electoral college votes win. You have screwed yourselves. So point this out to people. Republicans will be litigious about any changes to the ballot, and they'll try it in a number of different states, and it's a gamble that they know they could win, and very likely could win, because there will be some Republican appointed judges. There will be some judges who are sufficiently without conscience to go, yep, the Democrats have changed a candidate, but Biden is on the ballot. He will stay on the ballot. He's on the ballot because he won the primaries. So, that could be a solid legal argument. That was the will of the primary voters. You've got to respect that. Do you want to lose the Electoral College? Do you not understand how democracy is always precarious in the United States because the Electoral College system overrules the popular result? Doesn't matter which presidential candidate gets more votes. Doesn't matter, because there's a thumb on the scale in American politics resulting from concessions made to white, rural, wealthy landowners initially, who exercised their political power at the time of the writing of the Constitution, the forming of the Union, and said, we are afraid of what the popular vote will do to our ability to have a say in this government, our ability to retain this institution of slavery, which is important to us, and our economic practices, and our ability to derive extraordinary profits from the evils of slavery. And they were so attached to that economy, so attached to that status quo, that the founding fathers felt compelled to give them that concession, to say, okay, yes, it's not going to be strict. Most number of votes is the winner, as it is in other democracies, representative democracies around the world. It's a special system where different states are awarded a number of votes, but it's just all becomes more of a mysterious mathematical process that exists to give extra weighting to voters from agriculturally dominant states. Wyoming. What happens in Wyoming? Are there a lot of people, a lot of voters who live there? No. Do they get 2 senators the same as California? Yes. Senate malapportionment is the same as the Electoral College. Just another way to put a little extra thumb on the scale for the will of white Christian rural voters. And not all white rural Christian voters are Republicans. There's just a high likelihood that they are. And overall, the political leanings of that group of voters is towards Republicans, who have, since 1964, been the party that has implicitly promised to fight for a retention of white dominance and to oppose social safety nets and to enact a rhetoric that says what they're really opposing is dependency culture. Rubbish. What they're opposing is sharing American wealth, sharing the success of the American nation with those less fortunate who are not of the white dominant skin color. They don't like sharing. They don't like hand-ups. And hand-ups is what it is. If you give a family, if you have heard a success story of a child raised in a family with food stamps who succeeded going to public schools. I mean, so many of us have been educated at public schools. We know there is a a sound rationale behind having good public schools. And Republicans have wanted to erode all of that in favor of having private colleges, white Christian colleges that can exclude other people but still receive public taxpayer funds in the form of vouchers so that they don't have to adhere to rules of which students to admit to the school. They can admit only the students of their choosing, and they can perpetuate their little white homogenous environment for their own pleasure, so their own satisfaction. Then there's also this powerful statement from Kimberly E. Atkins. So let's listen to her.
Have we seen how Democrats handle open conventions or anything close to that?
Yes, she's going to remind us what happened. Open conventions. Let's listen.
Have we seen how Democrats handle open conventions or anything close to that? Do we remember 1968?
1968.
When Johnson decided not to run again?
Mm-hmm.
How did that end? That ended
Reagan.
with the election of Richard Nixon. Did we
Nixon.
see 1980 when jittery Democrats thought maybe that Ted Kennedy can come to the rescue? How did that end? With the inauguration of Ronald Reagan. Even in 2016, not an open convention. Hillary Clinton won it. I was there in Philadelphia when you had so many Bernie Sanders delegates booing and crying and vetching as she accepted the nomination, many of those doing things like voting for Jill Stein. And how did that end? With the election of Donald Trump. Jill Stein got more votes in Michigan than the difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in that state. Democrats don't do that well. What Democrats need to do is take a page from Republicans and say, we understand the existential threat that we are facing. We are seeing a presidential candidate who already is saying he will be a dictator from day one and who believes, falsely, but he believes it, that the Supreme Court just gave him absolute immunity. We have a president who cognitively bragged about being able to say person, man, woman, camera, TV, but who stood on television and told everyone to inject disinfectant and is now doing campaign rallies about, electrical currents and sharks. And nobody is doing an hour-long press conference asking him about that, the way we saw the hour-long press conference asking 1,000 ways about Joe Biden's cold. Democrats need to buck up, look at the threat, and fight against that threat and stop fighting against each other. Our democracy depends on it, and time's up.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. Time's up. Democrats need to buck up and fight against the threat rather than fighting against each other. Brilliantly put. So that sounds like when LBJ stepped down, President Nixon was elected because it gives a message of Democrats in disarray. You can't back your own candidate, you lose the election. Michelle B. Young shared a rant on Facebook because, as she notes, any proper rant should be screenshotted, not threaded, so you can see it all and you don't lose some of your audience. Anyway, please read it and reflect. She writes, I need you all to understand how online psyops work because right now a lot of you are falling for it. Yes, Biden not a great debate performance. You know who else did? Obama's first debate with Romney was a disaster. The difference is back then there was not a coordinated effort to doom his candidacy online, and in echo chambers it gets so repeated and widely shared it becomes the narrative. Always ask who is pushing this narrative and why. Also consider why the only conversation since the debate has been about Biden and his age instead of Trump's blatant lies, 34 felonies, or Project 25. Again, it's myopic to think of this as a contest between two old men. Our choice right now is multicultural democracy via Biden or white nationalism, Trump and Project 2025. And y'all are going to scare yourselves into fascism over style points. Please get a grip. Also, excellent. Well said. Thank you, Michelle. Also, it's worth mentioning, she writes, we knew Biden was old when we elected him and Big Fat did it anyway. And we'll do it again because there are contingencies in place. She's called Vice President Kamala Harris, and she's amazing. And a lot of the hair on fire bedwetting is because racists and misogynists don't like that she is the contingency in place. So they're putting forth a lot of bad faith arguments to justify them wanting to skip over her. There is no skipping over. Not only would the base revolt, but the only people entitled to the record-setting amount of money that's been raised are Biden and Harris. Also, we're 4 months out. There is no way to get anyone else on the ballot. So insert your favorite fantasy football politician here and ask yourself if you still think they could beat Trump in 4 months with no money and running a write-in campaign. Again, please get a grip. So that is true. I think it's over $100 million that's been raised for Biden and Harris. And the legality of that is, no, it can't be transferred to just anybody. Your fave, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, whatever. Even if you're doing as Mehdi Hassan just did about 40 minutes ago and saying that he is now coconut pilled. How dare he? How dare he use a racial pejorative term to refer to Vice President Kamala Harris? But I'll put that aside. He was saying, yep, he wants to join the K-Hive. Mehdi Hassan, get a grip. Kamala is the only candidate, it's true, but if you mess with the candidate and his chosen vice president that have been in office together incredibly successfully for 4 years, they're a great combo team. If you throw that away for just bedwetting, you reveal your weakness. You show your bare ass to the opposition. Hi, Pumpkin. Oh, thank you. I'm about to get off and we're going to do a typing competition. Okay. That is all I have to say. So thank you so much for listening. Please follow Michelle. If I get out of this screen, you can see her Twitter handle at Michelle_BYoung. She compiled a bunch of those important arguments there, the quote from Betty Rubble. And she also notes, if you appreciate this post, consider donating to our Veep Peeps fundraiser. Veep Peeps, raising money for Biden-Harris 2024. So if I retweet that, then you can go to my Twitter feed if you want to see it for yourself and donate money that way. I cannot personally donate money. I'm on a visa. I've been in the United States for 3 years. I am an Australian. You can probably tell by my accent, but I live here and we are going to do our level best, me included, because I can still volunteer my time and my voice. And voices are important right now, but so is your donation and so is your ability to volunteer your time to get out the vote efforts, to phone bank campaigns. There are a lot of good campaigns and a lot of good candidates to advocate for all down the ballot. We can do this. We have to recognize the threat posed to our democracy and hence to our lives and the lives of our families and our communities and the people we care about and this nation and this species on this planet. Because when US democracy falls, it is a go-ahead green light to other fascist despots around the world. So we can do it, but now is the moment to step up your game. Know that you've got one. Know that there are things you can do. Believe in yourself. Believe in the need that your country has for you in this moment. Thank you. I need a catchphrase. I'm working on it. What's my catchphrase? The road was never going to be easy, but we can do it. Take care of your democracy, our democracy.